Welcome to Dextor Plays. I want to take a quick look here. Alpha 14 for Rimworld just came out on the 15th, and it looks like there's a lot of good stuff in this. I'm currently running Alpha 13 with my Rimworld Impossible series. This might be something we're going to want to take a look at. So I wanted to go through a few of the changes here and talk about it, and then recap what I want to do with the Rimworld Impossible series. So first of all, this whole thing is a new scenario system. This allows us to choose or randomize special situations. We've done this a little bit in prior episodes where we brought survivors that were married, brought survivors who were ex-lovers. I've seen people bring in cannibals and things like that. So they've tried to already do this in advance. But now you can really set them up, which is, I think this is going to be really great for purposes of storytelling and doing a little bit of role playing with your game. I like the fact that you can randomize your scenarios, so you can kind of go, throw it at me, let me see what we're going to get. And the fact that you can actually create these scenarios, upload them into the Steam Workshop for other people to play, I think that's going to be a great source of content for people. In addition, you can do things in here like you can do changes to the map conditions, make it permanent eclipse, permanent solar flare, make them more extreme, do climate cycles that are greater than a year. Also, I like the one in there that talks about a planet killer, right? This is a really interesting option where you basically just put in a date where the game ends. I wonder if there's going to be a cutscene. I think that would be pretty cool to see. You can disable buildings, so if you wanted to force a certain kind of play, you can. I think that's kind of an interesting thing. I'm going to want to see how some people use that. Pawns start with health conditions, so you can have people, all of the people who show up have muscle parasites or whatever, and start them off with some kind of camp of, you're all the incurable sick people, and we threw you onto a planet. You could do something like that. I like that idea, especially where you can do things like starting giving them specific items. We can see here that we can just scatter items across the map, configure how they're going to arrive. So part of the storytelling being, they escaped from a crash, or they've just been ostracized. They've been cast out of a tribe. You can also specify their ages, which is just more of the customization thing, which I like. You can also put them in as the explode. So your characters could set that they blow up on death, like the boom rats and boomalopes. You can start talking about where their sources from. So this is the case where you can set everybody up to be lovers or ex-lovers or some other trait like that, where before you just had to keep clicking the randomize button until you got what you wanted. And sometimes it could take a while. I think my lovers one, not the lovers one, the married one, took me about 15 minutes to set up. Just click and randomize. We can start with different animals. We can disallow different things like hunting, mining, taming, growing. So if you wanted to create a situation where you're not allowed to do any hunting, you're strictly a farming community, you could do that, which is, I think, kind of interesting. Again, you can disable specific events if there's an event that you think is just, that's crap. I don't want that event. You can take it out. We can also increase different things like the movement speed, the mining speed. So if you want to put modifiers on some of those things because you think they take too long or they're too fast, you can do that. This disallow building, I'm not sure how that is different from disable a building. Maybe that's a case of you can create a building and say you're not allowed to go into it. So it's the sacred temple, maybe. That might be kind of interesting to do. Pawn overlapping, I didn't really have a whole lot of problems with this, where things just ended up stacking up in the same spot. Generally, as the critters or the raiders died, they spread out a little bit, so I didn't typically have any more than two sitting in a particular square, and that was very rare, but apparently this is an issue. But now you can also cause blocking with them, so you can start shooting people at the door, and then they can't get in. So this might change a little bit how we're going to set up kill zones, because you could end up having a kill zone with a single entrance that could get blocked by bodies, forcing these folks to go around different ways that are outside of the planned path you had for them. So this could actually be kind of interesting. There's some AI changes in here I really like. The raiders, for example, can go into a steal mode. So when the raiders come, if they see gold sitting on the ground, or they see a statue that's a masterpiece or something, they might just say, screw this, I'm taking that, I'm out of here. Because that's what they're here for. They're raiding, they're here for cash. That's going to be really cool. Seeing the kidnapping as well. So the raiders come in with missions. They could come in for purposes of stealing, or they could come in for kidnapping. They could now focus on that. So in the past, if somebody saw someone disabled, a raider did, he would pick up the body and they would make a run for it. And generally, if they had one body, they'd all run. And you could actually, as I understand it, you could scam that a little bit by throwing out a prisoner and letting him grab the prisoner and run off with the prisoner. Now, they're going to do something where they do take them, but instead of just them all running off, there's going to be cover fire, and they're all going to flee at once. So I think this is going to be kind of neat. So if they are grabbing your most valuable character, you might have to really get in there and try to knock them out before they grab the right person. It seems interesting that they said predators are no longer going to hunt boom rats or boomalopes. It seems kind of obvious, so that's a really good change. Pawns will be smarter about avoiding traps. I mean, oh my god. There were so many times that we had to worry about putting in doors or not putting in as many traps because the idiots were going to walk all over the traps. I set my trap, now let me step through it. It's really? Now we've got the AI in there for it. I think this is going to be excellent. Some of the new stuff, again, they're going on to Steam now, so you can buy the game off of Steam. It's going to be connected to the Steam Workshop, so you can pull off mods from the workshop. That's going to be great. You can actually change the kind of play you have. So this mentions this again down below, but he says you can now play as a tribe in some scenarios, being that you can change your tech level from being tribal to spacefaring. And you see down here a little bit later, if you try to do research as a tribe member on spaceflight, you get a massive hit on that. I think it's actually the third one right here. Difficulties related to your faction tech level. So, I think that's really cool. That I'm a tribal person, and I'm going to try to figure out geothermal power. Good luck with that. Again, you can do some research, which is for tribes only or for non-tribes. Here's some complex clothing and electricity, and the pemmican. Pemmican is a preservative that you can put into food. Again, here we got some new research they're going to put in. So the air conditioning, the auto doors, and the gun turrets, which were available before, now have to be researched. I think this is actually going to be extremely fun, the ransom demand. So if somebody does get kidnapped, you're like, oh my god, they took my best doctor or my best whatever, they could come back and say, well, we'll give them back to you for 50,000 gold or whatever. I hope that the demands aren't so astronomical as to be impractical. I feel that way about the power armor. The power armor is expensive to build. It's really expensive to buy. It gets damaged and broken over time. You can't repair it. And the cost for it, for the amount of protection you get, is just prohibitive. I mean, it's better to try to manage your distance or manage your angles through kill zones and like far easier than it is to try to go out there and say, look, I'm a guy in power armor and you're a tribal guy in tribal wear, and you could actually cause me, even if I kill you, the few hits you hit on me is economically unsupportable. So I think there's some balancing there that needs to happen. Killed by social thought, that's excellent. So if you've got a character and one of the tribes that came in to raid kill their significant other, they'll remember that in the future and dislike anybody from that tribe. I think that's really cool. There's this minor mental break now, so they might, I don't know what the incident's going to happen here, but the minor break, for example, a food binge. I'm sure the alcohol use might be there now. A few things like wandering around dazed might be in there. It's nice to be able to see that their ground fertility is now going to be reported. I mean, in the past, when I've done this, I really haven't dealt with it because it's just so hard to deal with from a point of view of seeing what the growth is going to be like. I just plant a whole big chunk and hope that the average comes out right. Thank God the moisture pump is back. This is something that was in Alpha 9, I think it was, where you could change muddy or wet terrain into dry terrain. And so you could kind of make areas where you might want to have built a wall in the past, you wouldn't be able to do it because there was mud there and there's nothing you could do about it. I can build a spaceship, but I can't somehow fix the area where there's some mud by doing a landfill or something. Now this is back, so it does take some power, but it's a wonderful thing to have. It allows you to really manipulate the land around you much better. I like that. In fact, this might be something where you could be on the edge of a sea and start using your conversion, and I wonder if it would allow you to slowly creep into the sea to make a big island out there where, for all intents and purposes, the only way they can get to you is coming in from the front. Hives pop out some glow pods now, so there's some lighting if the hives come up. This is something that happens in the underground area, so if you happen to dig into mountains, that's actually one of my favorite ways of trying to last. Dig deep into a mountain, create your base. It makes it really hard for the raiders to get to you, and if they decide to mortar you, they're hitting the side of the mountain, it doesn't hurt you none. But now they've got hives, so I think that's a good deal. And put the glow pods in there, and there's also some additional stuff in here as well. I think it's further down. But the hives have to be maintained by bugs. So if you kill off all the bugs, the hives won't continue to replicate. They have to be tended by one of the bugs to be able to continue to grow and replicate. I think that's pretty cool. A couple more traits. This is just creepy breathing, annoying voice. So hi. I think this is gonna be kind of fun with some role play. I like the pyromaniac. It's kind of interesting, where he might start to break and go around setting fires everywhere. This would certainly be a pain in the butt, but also kind of funny. Apparently, they have an issue with there being no panthers, so they threw them out there as well. And putting in some glows to identify hot areas is actually kind of cool. I like that. Put in a whole lot of different kinds of creatures. Wonderful. I still would like to be able to see some more intelligent AI on the creatures. So, for example, if you've got a pack of 4 or 5 dogs and your enemy starts to run, you can cut them loose and they will chase them all the way down. Right now, it'll only go out a little ways away from your character and then stop. Doesn't seem to be very practical unless I just haven't figured it out yet. So then there's some fixes to the interface. It looks like from this, where they're talking about the top row colonists, the common UI everybody puts up for the colonists along the top, so that you can see who's doing what, who's being hurt, who's got something going on by the interaction with those icons. Definitely needed. Glad to see it in there. I like that. Also on the animals, a little bit more detail so you can see their gender, their life stage. Makes it easier to do some additional UI stuff like killing everything or marking them all for training. I like that. And then, of course, they fixed some exploits. I don't think I used any of these exploits except for maybe this one down here. Let's see, no, that's not the one. This one? No. I don't see it. I know it's in here. It is the case where you could put a wall around people who are attacking, and they'll be forced to sit in there. You can starve them to death. I used to use that method for corralling in animals that I wanted to tame that were really hard to tame. They're saying now that if you do something like that, they'll try to escape. They just said if you put walls all the way around them, they will try to escape. I don't know if you got a door there, if that's going to still be the case. Again, I think that's all right. I would like to see some kind of a check against the creature's current happiness level to see if he's not being fed and he's starting to starve, or he's being mistreated, something along those lines. Then trigger the escape thing. Just like prisoners right now will attempt a prison break. I think the same sort of thing should be used for the animals. Maybe not necessarily for visitors, because apparently something some people were doing was when the visitors came, they'd build a wall all the way around the visitors so they could never leave. So there's some interesting things there. Again, most of these fixes against the UI and exploits isn't something that I'm going to have to worry about. So that's kind of nice. And again, with Alpha 13, the mission or the Rimworld Impossible that I've been running, I'm going to want to switch this over now to Rimworld Impossible version 14. So leave me a like or a comment down below. Let me know if you want me to try to finish off the version 13. If so, I will continue to play it and try to get to a quick resolution to it, but it'll take a number of weeks for me to finish that off, I think. Or I can just jump right into the 14. And also let me know if you think a particular scenario would be fun under 14. As the new scenario system is here, let me know if you think one of these things I ought to throw it in there, and I'll take a look at it. Again, thank you for watching the posts that I have and all my videos. Leave likes, subscribe if you want to see some more, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching another episode of Dextor Plays. Please leave a like or subscribe, and post any tips or tricks down below.